Like my good friends in the media always like to say, it's all about the exclusives. And here, live from E3 2011 from our PlayStation booth, let me do my job.
Sorry.
We're getting 20 minutes of exclusivity of a world premiere demo. I just did a Keeley, by the way. World premiere demo with my rockstar friend Dylan Job from Lightbox Entertainment, piloting from Santa Monica, Harvard, which I won't pronounce your last name because then I'm going to ruin it. But we got 20 minutes of you playing Weatherman, doing your thing.
You ready?
Ready.
Thank you, Ray, for having me here.
So tell us what we're going to see, man.
So what we're going to be doing here is, the fans know we've got crazy good multiplayer. We wanted to let everyone on the blog see our demo solo mission played essentially from start to finish, so they get a sense of how it plays out in single player.
Right on. So let's do some reviewing here. Let's talk about the character first.
Sure.
Just in case people aren't familiar with him, talk about the character, who he is, and what's he about.
Okay, so this is Emmett Graves, right? So the story in Starhawk is that Emmett Graves is a rift salvager.
Okay.
And as you can see from his Weatherman, his arm, he was partially exposed to rift energy. Now, as we know from the Starhawk universe, right? If you're exposed to rift energy, you get transformed into an outcast warrior.
Right on.
But because Emmett had a good friend, Cutter, who's the technical wizard in the dropship above the planet, he was able to implant a rift regulator on Emmett's back. And actually, Harvard, can you show the rift regulator on his back? Rotate around. These are these really painful cores that are drilled right into his spine. And they help keep the rift energy from transforming him all the way into an outcast. So he's kind of a marked man.
Right on. So talk about the planet that we're on right now and talk about the whole universe.
Okay, so this is just one of the planets in the Starhawk universe. And this planet is called Echo, creatively named because it's a canyon world. And there's a bunch of maps on Echo. Really big, tall spires. You can see all of our new terrain tech. You can see the major planet of the game is in the background with the asteroid ring, which is a level that you actually get to play in.
Nice tease.
Well, we can show you that. And you can see all the pipelines for harvesting all the rift energy. Now, it just happens to be down here, as part of this mission, there's a rift geyser. And again, in our kind of pseudo-space Western world, the rifters are participating in kind of this new gold rush. And that's the geyser, that's the blue gold that they're going for.
Cool. So let's start rocking and rolling, start shooting some heads off.
So Harvard, Bonnet, he's our senior producer at Santa Monica.
High five.
He's going to be running us through.
Right on.
So while he's running us through, I'll point out a couple things. Of course, you've got the mini-map down below. You've got, of course, enemies. We've got an OTS mode that you can use. You don't have to use it. It just makes you a little bit more accurate.
Nice.
Now you can see, when he killed that guy, he got some of that rift energy, and it went up to the dock up in the right-hand screen. That's where the currency is. And you use rift energy to build structures in the game.
Right on. And I'm assuming the more the currency, the bigger structures you can build, clearly. Thank you.
That's right.
Gaming 101.
That is advanced.
Thanks, buddy.
Anyhow, so there's a ton of different ways you can play this mission. The first thing he's got to do is secure that rift from this outcast warband, and they were down there worshiping. It just happens to be that Harvard had decided to be a total camper and snipe from this hill. But the AI are smart enough, they might come up and try to flank him.
Right on.
But there's all kinds of different ways into the space. The design team at Lightbox and I, we like to think about this as a combat sandbox. Now, it's not open world, so you can't just hop in a Hawk and fly straight up through the sky and go into a space mission. It still progresses from environment to environment. But within a given environment, it plays very much like a controlled combat sandbox.
Well, since we're talking about Gaming 101, you are in a Starhawk and you're flying towards space. As a designer, or your designers, how do you make it clear that, okay, sure you're in space, but there's a barrier? How do you make that realistic, or is it just something that you are expecting gamers to kind of accept and forgive?
I think there are a lot of things that the players just they just accept because they're convention. So like reticles or health or maps, there's a layer of game that players look through. And map boundaries are needed because we want to keep a specific density of experience. And it's just something that players have come to expect across all shooters.
Which is why a lot of designers go for the linear approach. It's just very point A, point B, point C.
Right. And in this case, instead of a single player game that plays out line, exchange, what we see Harvard playing here on Echo is more like a region, like we talked about in Austin. Harvard could have, snuck back around that whole canyon and attacked from a different way.
Right.
And then once he captures that rift, he can build all kinds of different structures and solve the combat challenge a ton of different ways.
Right on. So this is still phase 1 of the mission.
Oh, I got to show that. That is a dedicated melee button. In Warhawk, you had to switch to the knife to do a melee, and that's not the case in Starhawk. Melee's always on R3, and the same is true for flares. And that's, oh my God, he's gonna die.
Uh-oh.
You can see
Is
Emmett,
this his first death?
Emmett took a lot of damage, so his rift regulator burst out of his back. He's trying to cool him down to keep him from transforming.
Nice. So talk about, this is a good segue. Talk about Warhawk to Starhawk and how the community was involved in a way with the design choices you made for Starhawk.
I will. This is delicious PlayStation water.
Want to just point at the camera and smile?
Is this PlayStation water?
This is official PlayStation water. Just
yeah, so, obviously we were running dark for a long time on Starhawk. We couldn't really talk to anyone, coming off camera. And, but we were always watching the forums, right? We derive an enormous amount of pleasure from, GAF and all the other places.
Right on.
And we're always taking notes. And sometimes people on the forums, as the internet is wont to do, post random things like, I want to, bunnies should be unlockable. Bunnies should not be unlockable. There's all kinds of other things that are like, wow, that, you know what? That is absolutely right. And so we were always watching and looking at what people needed. Like the fact that people didn't like to have to switch to the knife to use it. The fact that people didn't like having to switch to flares to use flares. We put flares dedicated on R3 now for scrubbing missiles. Community support, all that stuff. We can talk a little bit more about that later. Cool. I want to get back to what Harvard's doing right here.
Go for it.
He killed the warband. And so now, as part of the mission, he's got to build an extractor on this rift to claim it. And again, Emmett and Cutter are rift salvagers, so this is a big part of their mission. He presses triangle, he selects a part, and then he builds it right there with the X button. Very, very simple. And in this case, that part can only be built on a rift, so it auto snaps there. And you can see all in real time the new structure builds.
How challenging is that for that to happen all in real time?
Well, I can't swear on live TV, but it's bleeping complicated.
Wow.
Getting the AI to understand all of that is incredibly complicated.
Which is half of your design time right there.
Oh my
just
God.
building it and engineering
it's huge, because unlike an RTS where the AI just needs to know how to walk around, in our game, it's a bunker with ladders and windows and doors that open depending on the team, and you can go inside and they have pickups, and the AI have to be wicked as smart.
Right on.
And in this case, the AI are counterattacking, right? Because Harvard just grabbed that rift. So they're drop podding in on this comm relay, and Cutter had his little talking head, he told us. And in the status doc, it tells us the next objective. And just like you might see in, God, I love Pixel Junk Monsters. You know how at the bottom it tells you all the things that are going to happen? Gratuitous plug. Dylan Cuthbert should send me a check. Just like that, Harvard will always see the status of things he's got to do. Very clear.
Cool.
Secure, do the override. But he's got to fight his way up first.
So you mentioned RTS.
Wait, prepare for it. Slow
motion death. So you mentioned RTS, but this isn't an RTS particularly. It's just one of the many aspects of Warhawk.
Right. Yeah, we wanted to do something different with Starhawk. I feel like a broken record for saying that over and over and over again.
Drive the messaging.
But we really feel it's important not only for this game but for the shooter genre to try to experiment with some new stuff. And just because RTS elements may not work in other cases, or RTS games may be too managey, that doesn't mean that we're going to do exactly like that. We spent a ton of time really sweating all the details about how fast-paced it should be. I mean, Harvard and I have had so many conversations with other players and the developer, all the people at Lightbox and other people in Sony, all the guys on the God of War team, to make sure that building in our game is crazy, wicked fast. It's like, I think I read on Joystick right after the unveil in Austin that, they said, it's not really an RTS as much as it is a shooter with some really awesome abilities.
Right on.
And that's a lot kind of how it is. It's like, I can build a structure just like picking ability. Bam, it's right there.
Well, I always like to plug Michael Bay however I can.
Michael Bay?
Yes. Follow me on this.
Do we have an American flag that's going and an Aerosmith song?
Want to hold my hand up against your screen?
Right.
Well, anywho, I look at Starscream and Transformers, and I look at the Starhawk, which we're going to see momentarily, and the way he transforms looks a lot like Starscream, because one moment you're a mech, and a moment you're a flying ship.
Yes.
Any influences that your designers kind of look at movies or books or comic books to influence the transformations of the Starhawks and maybe even other vehicles?
Yeah, we looking at the way the robots transform in Transformers, they have tons of articulation, very complicated. It in some scenes it's almost like a noise of gears and stuff like that. So we looked at it and we wanted to make sure that our transformation, the states read very, very clearly from moment to moment. And so we looked at, all kinds of different references, movies, anime, 2D illustrations, to see how we get that guy to transform and make the stability of the picture be solid for the player.
Right on.
Oh, here's an awesome moment, because Harvard's demoing and I'm rambling about. He's got a wave of guys coming in like 13 seconds. So one of the things he does right off the bat is build a communication tower. That's going to bring in allies that will drop pod in. Now these are smart AI bots. They will hang out with Emmett and do whatever Emmett needs. So like if Emmett goes over to the front lines here where enemies are going to attack, they'll defend. If Harvard runs up and collects this non-critical path bunker, maybe he builds a bunker, they'll know to go into the bunker, to climb up the ladders, to man it. And you can see here the enemies are attacking, and this is just a wave of these. These are partially mutated guys. These are scrappers, and they're just going to stream right in. They're like melee guys. And you can see Harvard real quickly built a bunker. If Harvard runs in there, he may get some of his guys to go into that bunker. He can grab some of those pickups, and that supply bunker has special pickups inside. Oh, and also for all the fans watching, these windows are shielded. So if you build a bunker, you're really protected on the inside. Oh, and here's another thing. Some structures can be upgraded. In this case, Harvard's socketing an auto turret to one of the slots of the bunker, giving it more offensive power.
So now it became a tower defense game.
Well, you know what? There are tower defense elements, and certainly we're not talking about just a top-down flash game.
Right.
There are great inspirations throughout the game industry, and I'm not afraid or embarrassed to say we reference, Pixel Junk Monsters or Plants vs. Zombies. I've said it in other interviews because those have great systems. Oh, here's another thing for our fans to see: the wall system. Walls are pretty cheap, but they're really tough. And walls have a dynamic connection system, so he can automatically put walls together and it will create a seal all the way across. And I think we might even be able to do another wall, push that out a little bit, bam. And another cool thing, sorry, I'm like a salesman.
No, this is why I love this.
With shipping and handling, all the build and battle parts have these control panels. That's where you upgrade them, or if you have to demolish a part or whatever. He just upgraded that wall into a team-based gate.
Nice.
And that way, let's say you're playing multiplayer, you can set up a choke point of walls so that your guys can run through and drive through, but the enemies can't.
Cool. Now these structures can actually become weapons. You can actually target these structures and actually land on enemies.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, it was weird. We were at the press conference. And there were some Sony employees playing the game. I hadn't met them before, but I guess they were playing a LAN party up in San Francisco.
We were guilty as charged.
And
blame Chuck.
They were coming up with all these crazy terms like, "Oh man, you just got man-caked," and I was like, "Wait, what?" It's like, "Yeah, that's what happens in Starhawk when you get crushed by a building." And I'm like, "I've never heard that," and we're making Starhawk.
Nice.
Oh yeah, man-cake. I came up, like, oh, that's a great term.
Cool, so let's actually go out to Twitter now, which is one of your fair uses of talking to the community. If you got any questions, let's hear some answers.
Okay, so while I'm doing that, what Harvard's got here is he just saw another wave coming in. Again, this is a very different approach to shooters. He can see he's got Starhawks, or Hawks that are going to land here.
Cool.
He's got another wave of ground units and a set of aircraft, Hawks that are going to fly in.
Right, my favorite part, by the way.
And that's just however he can play it, however he wants. It looks like he's bringing in more AI guys.
Cool.
He may want to build launch pads. Let's go to Twitter.
Let's do it.
All right. Oh, I got to put in my password. Oh my God, Twitter. Hold on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hello, good to see all of you live. Let's go to Twitter. Sorry. Booting up. Maybe this will be an excuse for me to upgrade my phone to a faster phone.
That would be a good one, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, more Twitter.
Live TV, everyone. Captivating television.
Oh, Okay, so
Here we go.
I don't even resist, but it's kind of written in lead speak. How does space combat work? Can you build and battle in space? Yes, you can. We're not showing the space environment here, but there are surfaces in space you can imagine, floating chunks of asteroid or space station that you can fly around on, but I've already said too much. Okay, oh my God, my phone is erupting. Answer it. Oh, when can I buy it? Because I'm in the Sony booth, I can't say exactly when. All I can say is 2012.
2012.
Right.
You want to grab one for PlayStation?
Oh,
we
yeah,
got
let's
Mr.
hit the-
PlayStation right here.
Yeah, all right.
Sid Schumann with the PlayStation account.
We obviously got a lot of guys asking about multiplayer. That's been a big theme here on Twitter. What's the max number of players in multiplayer and why?
Okay, max number is 32 players, just like we had in Warhawk. We felt it was a good number. It still allows you to have really big battles, but still have what we call target density, which keeps our recipe really, really fast.
Cool. One more from Sid.
All right, we got another one here. In custom games and multiplayer, can you regulate things such as Jeeps only, Hawks only, Troops only, etc.?
In this build, no. We're doing a lot of stuff back in the studio to control how those are configured. So one of the things we talked about was, as you saw on Harvard's build and battle menu, you had all of those parts. One of the things we're experimenting with is allowing the player to say, okay, maybe we only want, 4 shields, 4x4s, and bunkers. Almost like mutators. Let's play that way. We don't have that in this build, and we're still experimenting with that. My password turned back on. Can I get a couple other Twitter?
Sure, let's do 1 or 2 or 3 more.
I got another one here if you want.
Sure.
All right. Warhawk had PlayStation Home support. Do you think Starhawk will be doing anything like game spaces, game launching items in home?
I would imagine so. We're independent at Lightbox, so now Sony will probably be supporting that stuff, really kind of on their own. We've got all the resources focused on this game. I'm getting a lot of tweets about DLC, and you know what? We're excited about DLC, but quite frankly, we are not even thinking about that right now. It's not like we're building DLC and going to hide it in the game. We're going to put everything in this game, and we're going to release it, and it's all on the disc, and you get it. And then once we see what players want, then we'll start talking about DLC.
They're asking me to rap, but have you transformed yet so everyone can see this, guys? Let's rap with that, because I'd love to see that.
Oh my God, more Twitter. Oh, while he's doing that, 1080p, no, we're running 720p.
Okay.
Can you do split screen online? Yes, you can do split screen online. No, it doesn't run on a PS Vita.
He's quick.
What else? Bear with me. Scrolling.
I just want to see him fly.
There he goes.
Yeah, there's that
Yeah,
transfer.
that's the money shot.
Cool. One last question before we wrap up.
Oh, how do structures work for building online? It works great. We get a ton of questions about that, about griefing and all of that stuff. We're working on some really great systems to make sure that you can demerit someone, and we're thinking about allowing you to revoke someone's builder's permit if they're being a total D-bag. So there's a lot of really cool ways, but we've got multiplayer on the floor, and people are loving it, and build and battle's working great.
That's exciting, man. Well, welcome back to Spotlight, dude. I'm
Awesome.
sure everyone's going to be able to ask you more questions, and you have a lot more questions to answer on the PlayStation blog.
Why can't this be a magic wall like on CNN? Because I want to be moving stuff around and, have a you don't? No? Okay.
Partly cloudy.
That's right, because I want to act like, moves.
Right on, dude. You're a great weatherman. High five, dude.
All right, we're out.